it was close to 1.8 million people who died in the crossing from Africa to the Americas. So we'll never know their full names, but we can still speak their names.
So, Tara, we are having this conversation at an interesting time because the documentary about the Titan submersible that tragically sank and perished the lives of all 5 people aboard is coming out. And this happened in 2023. And it was striking because they were going to explore the Titanic, something that over and over again people have been obsessed with. But why don't they have the same energy for slave shipwrecks?
That is the question. And it's a really good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer. But I know that this history is important and it's big and there's a lot to discover around it. Can I give you a stat?
Absolutely.
This is one stat. There were actually 12,000 ships that brought Africans to the Americas. You got 12,000 ships. But I know when I was growing up, I couldn't tell you the name of a single one of those. No. But I could tell you all about the Titanic.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We put a premium on certain types of history in this country. And you also have cited before that out of those 12,000, fewer than 20 have actually been documented, right? Even to this day. So even as we're doing more exploration, there's still a disparity there.
Yes.
But you have really taken it upon yourself to dive in, pun intended, into this.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah, I can't. And you have written about this in your memoir, Written in the Waters. And this all started for you with a photo at the National Museum of African American History and Culture in D.C. What was in that photo?
It's so amazing when I reflect on it. It was just a picture of a group of primarily Black women in wetsuits on a boat. That was it, Paris. It was just that picture. But I had never seen a picture of Black women in wetsuits on a boat. They just looked so beautiful to me, so free, so joyous. I don't know. It stopped me and made me curious. I wanted to find out who they were. And then I found out that they were a part of this group called Diving with a Purpose, and that what they did was to help search for and document slave shipwrecks around the world. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me?
And you wanted to join them.
I wanted to join them. I was like, these people who look like me are having adventures in the world and helping to bring this history back into memory. It just felt magical to me. It felt incredible.
Now, were you a diver prior to joining them?
No.
And I have to state something kind of obvious here, Tara, because there is a stereotype that we don't love the water. Black people, you hear Black people can't swim or don't swim, right? So how do you overcome that? And how do you get more people, kind of bring them into the water with you?
Yeah. Well, I find that the more people hear about this, the more people know that our history is in the waters and that it can be recovered. I'm astonished at how many people are like, you know what? This is inspiring me to want to swim. This is inspiring me to want to dive. So I think there's something about the work that is pulling us back. I also think that the ancestors are calling us back to the water. So it's not an accident that all of this is happening right now.
And let's talk a little bit more of that, because one thread that was populating in the wake of the Titan submersible implosion was, and this was a piece from Karen Attia in the Washington Post that sparked it for me. She talked about in Yoruba religion, there are the Orishas who rule different parts of the earth, elements of the earth. One of them is Olokun, which rules the deep ocean, and is quite vengeful because that Orisha feels like there isn't a lot of human reverence. So how do you respect the ocean in your work? And how do the ancestors speak to you as you do this?
Yeah, I'll answer that in two ways. One, I have made a connection with Yemaya. That's how I pronounce that Orisha's name. And that wasn't something I expected. But inside of that work, I don't know, she just sort of came to me. And I felt as I traveled, and we have been doing work all over the world in Mozambique, South Africa, Senegal, Costa Rica, St. Croix, around the U.S. And I feel like Emaya is looking out for me and connecting with me. And I think that that happened because early on in this journey, I got blessed to do this work. I got blessed by my mother's pastor. And my mother's pastor requested, he requested that as I do this journey, that I ask permission of the ancestors and that I ask them to guide my way and make it smooth and harmonious. And he charged me with speaking their names. And he was like, it is important for you too. And he just kept saying it. He was like, speak their names, speak their names, speak their names.
And these are the names of
The ancestors. It's the name of the people who died. And of course, we'll never know the names of all the people. It was close to 1.8 million people who died in the crossing from Africa to the Americas. So we'll never know their full names, but we can still speak their names. And I can also speak the names of my direct ancestors and call on them to help guide the way. So all of that feels really important right now.
And it's, I mean, you're talking about nearly 2 million people who perished in the Middle Passage. And we so often hear about what happened right before they entered the door of no return, to go on that treacherous journey. And we talk about what happened when they got there, right? All the torturous things that happened and the many, many years that ensued. But we don't talk a lot about that Middle Passage.
No. I think of them as forgotten people, and they deserve to be remembered. They deserve to be honored. That's an enormous loss of life. Almost 2 million people, as you said. But are we grieving them? Are we honoring them? Not really. I mean, there are small groups that do that. But for this scale of loss of life, I mean, there should be national, global recognition of this. So part of the work that Diving with a Purpose is doing, part of the work that I'm doing in elevating these stories is to bring those people, because they're not just statistics or faceless victims. Those were mothers, fathers, daughters, sons, dreamers, poets, mathematicians, all of these people.
And why do you think they were forgotten and not getting that recognition today? Don't know. Another look. We got more questions.
I'm just like, look at the eyebrow.
Sometimes. No, I
mean, this history isn't prioritized. It's history that has been distorted, forgotten, changed for all the reasons that we are where we are today.
Now, you talk about who these people were, even if we don't know their names, right? And the stories that you are uncovering about them. What are you learning? Like, what are some of those stories teaching you?
Well, that it's not just stories of pain and stories of trauma and tragedy. These are also stories of resilience, of resistance, of survival. Here's one thing that I learned that I didn't know, but they say that at least 1 in every 3 ships had a rebellion on it, and that those rebellions were often led by women.
Really?
Right? Like,
and that's definitely not the story.
That's not the story. You just hear that we were passive and we accepted our fates, but it's not true. We were fighting back. We were actively resisting.
And in some cases, those rebellions included people who chose to throw themselves overboard, right?
Yes. And it also included stories of survival. Like, some people got away. Some people, changed what happened. So it's bigger stories. It's complex, big history that we don't teach in its fullness and its complexity in our schools. So part of this work is to move outside of that and to help, again, just bring this history back into memory.
And one way to memorialize it is making it personal, which is exactly what you have done in your memoir, which is one of history, home, and belonging. So tell me what you've learned about your own story and your journey from that photo to now.
Yeah. Well, in the book, I tell stories of some of the divers. I tell stories of some of the ships. But as you said, I also tell the story of my own transformation. I was one of those persons who was a bit afraid to look back because I thought it was too painful. But through this journey, I've been able to connect to my own ancestors in a way that wasn't really possible before. I'll tell you, I found my great-great-grandpa Jack through this work. And great-great-grandpa Jack was amazing. He
And
was
has a
born-
North Carolina connection, I understand.
Yes,
We might be cousins, Tara. I don't know.
We are. How about that? Yes.
We are, yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is he speaking to you on this journey?
Absolutely. He was born enslaved in 1837. But I found that great-great-grandpa Jack was a hero. And I can't believe, my mother used to keep a picture of him on her wall. So we always knew about him, but we didn't really know his story.
And he was pretty impactful in the post-slavery times in North Carolina,
He
right?
was.
What was his
Again,
role?
we didn't know this. But we did some searching and we found out that he fought in the Civil War. He was a part of the United States Colored Troops. We also found out that he was a delegate to the Freedmen's Convention, which was a convention after the Civil War to determine the constitutional rights of newly freed people. So Jack, he was a hero. But I wouldn't have found him if I hadn't have started this work. This work gave me the courage to look back and to see more than just the pain. It gave me the courage to look back and actually see the humanity of our ancestors and our people.
Well, in addition to getting our people back in the water, how do you hope your memoir inspires other people to chart their own stories and dig into their own histories?
Well, one thing that I hope people get from this story is that it is never too late to step into your curiosity and your passion. I had a whole other career before I started doing this. It really was this picture that I saw in the museum that gave me the courage to quit my job and to follow this, to become a scuba diver and follow this. And I'm like, if I can do that in the middle of a really decent career, anyone can do that. It is never too late.
Well, Tara Roberts is author of Written in the Waters, a memoir of history, home, and belonging. Tara, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.